Today we're going to talk about manual handling.
Yeah.
And specifically it'd be nice to talk about some of the factors that impact on our body and our health and well-being. How important would you say it is to get enough sleep?
Yeah, so for me, probably sleep's one of the most undervalued pieces of the health equation. It's something that's often overlooked. And really, you need to take a little step back into how humans evolved. So essentially, for millions of years, we woke up with the sun and we went down with the moon. And our body's circadian biology is based off that. So essentially, when you see sunlight in the morning, it sends a message to your brain. It says, right, get up, get busy, get active, and it fires your body up. And similarly, when the sun goes down, then that dark increases your melatonin, your sleep, then you get a good night's sleep. And if you think about the modern day environment now, it's completely counteracted to that. We work in a little cage all day in our office with no sunlight, and then when we go home, we turn the bright lights on, the TV, the phones. So we're essentially going against what our natural body requires. And some of the impacts of that is, if you say that you need 7 to 8 hours good quality sleep, those first 4 hours is called the anabolic window. That's essentially when your body repairs physically. So any stress and strain you've had in the day are improved during that night. But then the second 4 hours is kind of your brainwashing, essentially. Not brainwash as in telling you what to do, but brainwashing as in a clean of your memory and also all your mental functions. So thinking about the impacts of not getting your quality sleep, you're not going to physically repair and you're not going to mentally repair. And thinking about that in terms of manual handling, if you're not physically repairing, your ability to repeat those movements, going down, picking up relatively heavy things, is impaired. But I think more importantly, especially those second 4 hours of sleep that often people cut out because they only get 5 or 6 hours, your ability to make good decisions is impaired. So if you normally would bend down and pick up a box effectively, you take the easy option because it seems a harder thing to do. So you bend your back, pick something up, and then you're going to be at risk physically because of the poor decisions that you make. And that also ties into your health as well. You think about that. You've got an option of something healthy and unhealthy. If you've had a poor night's sleep, which one do you think that you choose? It's not the veg and the fruit, it's the biscuits and it's the sweets. And it's the same with exercise. If you're unable to make good decisions again, do you walk home or do you get the bus home? You probably get the bus home. So when I say it's the most undervalued piece in terms of the health equation is it helps determine all the good decisions or bad decisions that you make. So a lot of people that I see, when they improve their sleep quality, then everything else falls into place because they start making good decisions, whether it's manual handling, food, or exercise. And I guess if I was to give my top tips, if you want to improve your sleep, the first thing is when you get up in the morning, get outside in the sunlight. That sends that message to your body to start its circadian rhythm for the day, and it gets you on point from the beginning. And again at lunchtime, if you have the opportunity to get out of your little caged box or your ward, get outside, get some sunlight in those eyes. It will make sure your body knows that it's daytime. And then thinking at the opposite end to that is when it comes to night, make sure you turn your electronic devices off, your phones, an hour before bed ideally. Or as an absolute minimum, make sure you turn the night app on, which makes sure your phone stops emitting blue technology. If you're using a computer, you can use something called Flux, which blocks the blue light being taken out. And again, thinking about getting to sleep in the right dark experience, your bedroom should be for two things. One is sleep, and the other begins with S as well. I won't say what that is, but you shouldn't have TVs in there. You shouldn't have phones in there. It should be a sanctuary for sleep, and it should be very dark. So if you took care of those, you would take a massive impact on your ability to regulate your body's biology, how it's done for millions of years, rather than in the sort of unnatural environment that we've got today.
That's very interesting, thank you, John. You touched upon diet as well. How important is diet for physical health and well-being and certainly manual handling?
Well, I guess I'm obviously going to say it's really important because I'm a dietitian, so I'm going to give that some gravitas. But essentially I like to see these 4 pillars of health. You've got one which is sleep, you've got physical exercise, you've got mindset, and then you've obviously got diet and nutrition. And probably the simplest way to think about it is you are what you eat. Again, we've grown up evolutionally to eat fruits, vegetables, things that grow from the ground, and potentially animals if you choose to eat those ethically. Or for ethical reasons, you might not choose to eat those. But we didn't evolve eating things like packets. We didn't evolve drinking sugary drinks. So obviously they're very different to what our body's expecting. So the more you can go for a unprocessed, natural type of meals, at least 80% of your food, you're giving your body what it's grown up with and what it requires, and that will give you a good opportunity again to physically repair for manual handling, making the right decisions, giving your brain the food that it needs to make good decisions. So it kind of all ties in with the more you give your body what it naturally required over millions of years rather than what it's given from the street corner, you're going to be better off for making good health decisions. But also, again, from a manual handling perspective, if you're recovering nutritionally and giving your body all the things that it needs, it's going to look after making sure you've got the strength to be able to produce the movements that you need for effective manual handling.
Here's a question I'm asking everybody in this session. Do you ever correct your colleagues when you see them performing manual handling tasks incorrectly?
It's a good question. I wouldn't say 100% of the time, but I would probably say maybe 50% of the time. So obviously there's times when I'm rushing or I perceive there's not enough time to do that, then I'll just won't say anything, let it go. Whereas if I reflected on that, really there is always time, because if you want to help out your colleagues, I could stop and just sort of say, look, you might hurt your back doing it this way. This is the way that you could perform it, so that number one, you look after your back, but also you improve your strength at the same time. So I think if we've got champions who are going to lead by example and people are willing to take on board that advice, then we should be helping each other out, because ultimately the more people we have healthy at work, the easier our job becomes as a whole, rather than just thinking, I don't have enough time because I'm really busy, which is a really simple mindset to fall into, but you have to ask yourself the question, is that actually true?
You're quite active outside of work. How would you say physical fitness impacts on your ability to do your job and the manual handling tasks within your job?
So thinking about the 4 pillars that we've already discussed, we discussed sleep, we discussed nutrition, and we've mentioned mindset briefly, and I guess the final one is activity. And I think exercise is a bit of a dirty word. People have visions of people strapping on a leotard and going down to the gym. But the way I like to think of it is the more active you are in life, it builds your capacity to be able to do tasks. So if you take half an hour walking per day and then you maybe throw in some strength-based sessions twice a week, your capacity to take on tasks during the day increases massively. So maybe that extra walk you've got to do to a clinic, you wouldn't be out of breath anymore. And if you take that level up again and you're doing some more activities, it just builds your capacity to be able to deal with stresses during the day, to be able to give you the energy that you need to perform other tasks. And there's a lot of good evidence to show, certainly the more walking and the more aerobic activity you do, it actually impacts your brain health by keeping it younger, keeping it healthier, making better decisions. So, you can't say that sleep is the best thing, or diet's the best thing, or exercise is the best thing, or mindset is the best thing. It's a combination of the 4 that will give you the best health, and you don't have to go from being 10% to 100%. If you just take your performance in each of those areas up by 10%, you'll get a huge overall benefit in terms of your overall health. And I guess from a manual handling perspective, you're going to be able to have the capacity to actually bend down and have the mobility to be able to pick up a box doing a squat. Because if you're not used to getting into those positions, you're never going to be able to do it when it comes to supposed to be performing that lift effectively.